like, the scariest things in life. I was doing a video about Weirdo when some dude was like, you don't need therapy. Some problems are only solved with might. And I'm like, I hope that I hope, and like, I'm not even being sarcastic. I'm like, I hope you live a life where the only problems you have to fight are ones that you can solve with your fist. I hope you live that life.
My friend Tony Weaver Jr., he returned to a podcast. I'm trying to reach back out to a lot of friends that joined the podcast the first time, and we had like our little small talk. But like I've been wanting to get like deeper with a lot of my friends, especially like you're killing it, man. Like you're super busy, doing too much. And it's like and then I'm happy, like you just told me like I got you at the right time, so like now is like the perfect time to get you on board to just shoot talk about like everything you've been up to.
To be clear, you know I'd make time for you, right? I might be like very tired, so the conversation might not be as riveting, but you know I'd make time.
It means so much, man, and like I just read your book. I loved Weirdo. I loved your book, Weirdo. It meant a lot to me, especially like my inner child. I wish I could have read it 15 years ago. But
I was really happy when you were reading it because you were sending over like each chapter, like, oh, I've just read this and this happened and this felt like this. I was like, he's in it, and this is great. Something that I talk about in literature a lot is that we never overtly say it out loud, but if you look at literature, there are some people whose work we deem worthy enough to be analyzed. Right? So when you're in middle school and they hand you Shakespeare, they're like, what does Shakespeare mean by this? What's this theme? What's this theme? What's this theme? And you never see a lot of other authors kind of being treated that way. And then even in manga fans, they're like, oh, well, Oda did this in chapter 852, and that relates to something that happened in chapter 151.
Chapter 852, right?
Yeah. They'll go back and forth, and I always tell myself, it's like, man, I want to be a writer that people deem worthy of being analyzed, where they feel like the work has enough merit for somebody to actually look and try to determine the themes. So when you were reading through it, I was like, this warms my heart. I'm super happy about the way that he's engaging, reacting with it.
I'm glad to hear that, actually. Like because I loved it. Like I genuinely like really enjoyed it. Like I keep thinking about also like when I saw like the Kid Cudi type of artist was there, and I was like, huh?
Yeah.
But it, like everything spoke to me, like it made me wish I could have went to a black school. It made me wish I could have had like some of those friends that like made me feel secure in who I am, especially back then. But at the same time, it made me really happy that this is happening now. And like it's sort of unfortunate to see, especially like a lot of your videos that you're putting out right now. I can definitely gotta talk about that soon. Talking about like the racism that's like in a lot of media or like in social media or just society. Honestly, you're teaching me about Nat Turner now. In unfortunate ways.
We'll talk about it.
Like fortunate, like I love how you're putting it out there, but it's like, oh dang, we got to talk about this because media literacy is so down right now.
I think there are a lot of things about Weirdo that I wanted people to resonate with when I was writing it, but I wasn't sure if they would. Like Weirdo's based on my personal experience, right? Navigating growing up nerdy, and the school that I went to, like when I was growing up, that was my school. It was all black. I think it was a K-12 school. It was all black, and I think maybe when I was a senior in high school, there was like one Asian third grader, and we were all like, how did he get here? what's going on? Like I remember us seeing the third graders walking lunch and being like, huh, nice.
That's good. Hey, I was like, I hope they like take care of him,
But it's stuff like that people take for granted until they see it, because we see all these shows about the boarding school, and it's always British, and there are no black people, or if there are, there's like one.
Yep. Harry Potter type of style, right?
Or even in anime, we can look at Persona, and we can look at a lot of other, like even Ouran High School Host Club was a huge inspiration for Weirdo. I love that series. But when you look at these schools and you think, oh, this larger than life kind of heightened reality school where the students get in all these crazy hijinks. You never imagine that place being all black kids.
No,
It's
not
just
at
all
all.
black kids.
Not at all. Like honestly, like
going on these adventures.
yeah, it feels like such a newer concept to me, honestly. Even though like that's sort of crazy to say, right? It's
Yeah.
like, like that should be like that shouldn't be like that. Like in fact, I was like, oh wait, this like when you just literally said that right now, like it's like this is something you went to for real. It's like, whoa,
Yeah.
that existed, you know?
Shout out to Atlanta.
Wow, that is true.
Shout out to it's one of the only places that could happen. Shout out to Atlanta.
Man, that's beautiful though, you know. But like, did you like? I guess like, did your real life? Did you like get that sort of healing that you got and like that sort of connection that you had back then, like as like in high school, or was it
So
afterwards?
So in Weirdo, after I kind of navigate my mental health difficulty, we get to see what healing looks like as I find a new group of friends. And the literature club in Weirdo are based on an amalgamation of my friends. So there are a few characters that are two people rolled into one, things like that. But that is how the healing journey looked for me. I found community. And once we were able to create norms within our own community to say we love each other and appreciate each other for who we are and we're not going to let people mistreat us, suddenly a lot of things flipped for me in a positive way. So it's certainly something that was accurate for me. I did have a teacher that recommended that I listen to Kid Cudi, and I learned, listen, I'm like, they say I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can also do most things through Kid Cudi who hums.
Yeah, I was about to say the healing hums right there. You know?
There's the
Because I mean, straight up for me too. Like in high school, like I like his that first album, like it hit. Like I was like lonely, and like his hums like really healed like a lot, and like really like sort of empowered me. So that's also like why I was like, you see like the whole spectrum of like that experience right there for me.
Man on the Moon End of Day is just such a powerful piece of media in general that I think is severely underrated. And people don't talk about it for how quality the music is, but how healing the music is. The narrative that he puts together, it's just good.
Yo.
And some people incorporate things to pay homage, and I'm like, it was paying homage, but it was also an overt omission or admission of the fact that album saved my life. Like I needed that. Wow. And with Kid Cudi being somebody that struggles with his mental health so much, he's very open about kind of how he deals with his mental health. I'm like, does he know? Does he know how many black boys didn't have anybody to talk to, and in that moment when they felt alone and when they felt by themselves, his music was there? Does he truly know how impactful his body of work is for people? And honestly, I think the answer is no. I don't feel like Kid Cudi can receive enough props, enough praise.
I feel that too. It's like like I mean, I know I'm glazing. I wish glazing wasn't like a bad term these days or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, but I have to agree with that too. It's like and I also just appreciate like that sort of era of like the nerdy black artists that came out, Childish Gambino, Lupe, Kid Cudi, even Kanye. Like if not for them sort of coming out as they were back then, I don't know if I would be who I am today. And I mean, it sounds like, would you be who you are today?
Oh, 100%. I wouldn't be. I feel like it hurts to see some of the ways that Kanye has shifted.
Yes, very much so.
The music was the music at that time in my life. It was certainly impactful. And that's a part of why when writing Weirdo, I didn't take any easy ways out. There were a lot of ways that I could have taken the easy way out when writing the story. But I said, no, this is important because there's going to be a kid who needs this. There's going to be someone that needs this, and I need it to be there for him. So I got to do the hard work.
Like honestly, like I love your content today. Like and like I'm so happy to see you growing in the way that you are. Like I mean, just your content overall, and your followership. But like it is like you are, I think. Like, and I'm not even just saying that because like, oh, I'm talking to you right now, but genuinely so. I really do enjoy what you're doing, but then also going to the schools and doing the work of actually talking to the kids.
Yeah.
That's beautiful stuff, man.
So
I got to hear about that.
It's funny. It's really funny. I think one of the videos that I made that kind of started me on a bit of the growth trajectory that I'm on right now is about how no matter what angle you attack racism from, somebody's going to complain.
Yeah.
So like you point out racism in a thing and they go, make your own. And then you make your own,
you did it.
and they're like, why are you why are you doing that? So then, okay, I won't make my own. Maybe I'll be incorporated into a different thing. And they go, blackwashing. It's like there's always an excuse. And on social, I don't talk about my education work as much, but if people knew about it, I like people attack me and I'm like, I could tell you just don't want me talking because you have no idea what I do. So people come in and I'll be like, always complaining, never do anything to actually fix the problem. And I'm like, we put mental health curricula and diverse comic books that I wrote and made into the hands of over 500,000 kids in the year 2024.
Wow.
And you want to come on a video and go, oh, he's not doing anything. He's just
like, no way. It's like, if you're not doing anything, then what is anybody else doing? Like, like seeing what you're doing, like, makes me want to go to like Boys and Girls Club, you know, like, or, you know, little Big Brothers, Big Sisters, you know, like really interact with kids. It gives me hope. Like, I feel like too often, like, if actually something like I would like to say is like, I'm worried that like our generation and older generations are getting more divorced from like the younger kids, honestly. Like, you know, like we're not talking because we're all afraid of like looking like pedophiles or something, you know? And like, and I feel like that's so sad. Like whereas I see you like actually connecting with the kids and like hearing them and talking with them. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And actually like giving them books. It's like, do we read books anymore?
It's I think my mom was a public educator, so I have a very vested interest in education. It's an industry that I grew up in, so it's a place that feels like home for me. And I get the privilege to visit schools around the country and work with kids, and even though they may be a little different based on their community, or there might be some slightly different eccentricity, like I went to a school and it was a private school where the parents were very, very actively involved. So even though these kids were in the 7th and 8th grade, I mentioned Jujutsu Kaisen, and they're like, my mom doesn't let me read that. She says it's not age appropriate. And I'm like, wow, you're the only middle school I've been to where they say that. And then I go to a middle school across town, and they're like, Jujutsu Kaisen, Dan, Fire Force, I'm on it. So even though there are differences, the common thing that I always find is they want to be heard, and they just want to know that they're okay. It's literally that. I just want to know that I'm okay. I'm dealing with some problems. I'm dealing with these issues and these difficulties. I don't know if I'm the only one that's dealing with this thing. It feels like it sometimes. I just want to know that I'm okay. My Snorlax, the kid 3D printed this for me.
Wow,
he saw that in my because he saw that in my videos. I had my Snorlax plushie that is dramatically absent right now. I don't know where that man is. Oh, here it is. Because I have my Snorlax plushie.
There we go.
In a lot of my videos, and very often just knowing that somebody cares about what they're navigating and doesn't try to trivialize the very large emotions that they're experiencing goes a long way. And I think that connection is deeply important for fostering a love for reading, fostering a habit of critical thinking, increasing the strength of interpersonal relationships, making sure that they don't fall in all these pipelines and develop these very dangerous parasocial relationships with influencers that just want to monetize them. It all starts with listening. So that's a core part of what I do.
That's beautiful. Is there something like that kids are going through, I guess like a common thread that you hear from the kids that they're dealing with?
So I think all of the kids that I've had the chance to speak very candidly to connect their sense of worth with their academic performance. Because remember post-COVID, when kids started back school, the big thing that they said was, everyone's behind. The kids are behind. Learning loss is through the roof. Distance learning didn't work. There are kids that are on various different levels, even though they're in the same classroom. How are we going to catch them up? How are we going to do something about this learning loss? And all the adults are like, learning loss, learning loss, learning loss. And the kids are hearing this. They're hearing this. oh, I'm behind. Oh, I'm not smart enough. I didn't even do anything. I didn't choose to shut the country down for a year. You think I wanted to stay at home and go to school on a
Yeah.
tablet? I didn't pick this. I didn't do this. And especially in some kids, you're talking to kids in communities where they live in a 2-bedroom apartment with their parents and their 3 siblings, and they're all at the kitchen table every day for hours at a time, sitting and learning and trying to do distance learning and make it work. They can't leave the house. They don't even have a space to themselves. And they come back to school after surviving something that no generation has ever had to go through, and you have the audacity to look at them and go, you're behind. That sort of rhetoric, the kids that were experiencing that stuff, if they were in elementary school when it started, they're moving into high school now. And the big thing with learning loss was that they said if we don't get them up to par, they're not going to be ready for college. They're not going to be ready for college. So the generation of like COVID kids, if you were in elementary school when COVID was a thing, you're starting high school now. So for the entirety of your academic career, you've been told not enough, loss, learning loss. And now you're entering a space where, well, make sure your resume is right, make sure your report card's right, make sure your grades are high because you're going to apply for these colleges. And in these colleges, if you're not ready for them, they're going to reject you. You don't go to college. You're not going to be able to get a good job. Not going to be able to get a good job. You're going to have a terrible life. There's this catastrophizing that adults do that kids are feeling in a very deep way. And I don't know. A part of it is because I got to create my own reality, right? I started my own company. I work my own job. I kind of get autonomy over my life. So there's a privilege that I have that a lot of people in 9-to-5s don't. But I feel like putting that pressure on kids hurts them.
Mm-hmm. Dang. And, because I had heard that, like, oh, kids are behind. And I've always felt like, dang, it sucks. For me, during the pandemic, honestly, I had a great time, which is sort of hard and weird to say, I guess. I feel bad. I don't want to trivialize, like, the situation. But, like, being an adult that, like, got to, like, sort of self-actualize, especially more so during that time, It's like I don't know, like, how. Like, I actually always felt like it wasn't good for kids. It always felt like it was, like, really tough, especially asking them to adapt in crazy ways, for during this pandemic, and then like not really being able to get like a lot afterwards, I guess, or like still having a hard time during it, and afterwards, and just currently now. And also that's crazy to say, like, or hear, like, as like, oh, if you were in elementary, you're now in high school and you're having to deal, and it's like, ooh, that's tough.
I think for me, very often kids are the ones that have to bear the weight of problems that we don't know how to solve. Like, are standardized tests the best way to gauge someone's intelligence? No, and we know that, but we don't have a better way yet. So now every kid has to take standardized tests. We don't know how to get our stuff together. There are people that make hundreds of millions of dollars a year, all these major companies that focus on education, research firms and institutions of higher learning that receive multi-million-dollar grants to study intelligence and human growth and human development, and nobody's figured out a way to standardize everything yet. So kids have to bear the brunt by taking this test that we know isn't even the most effective way. Isn't even the most effective way to measure things. So I write stuff for them. It's a part of why I'm so focused on supporting young people in a lot of my work. I'm like, y'all are left holding the bag for so many problems. And even though they'll toss every problem to you, nobody sits down with you long enough to try and figure out a personalized solution. You can get personalized problems, but you can't get personalized solutions. And I try to write stuff that stands in the gap and does that.
I think that's beautiful and is necessary, especially, like, especially for, I think, black kids, black nerdy kids, black kids that, like, like for me, actually, like, one thing I was even thinking is like when did you ever had to grapple with your blackness? Like, I know I did, especially like being an African American, and like, especially like in high school, like I felt like I wasn't black enough, especially being a nerd. But did you ever like have that yourself?
So I did, but I feel like it's a different experience when you don't feel black enough and you're surrounded by black people.
Yeah.
So in Atlanta, There are black people everywhere. There was never a question about whether a black person could be a dentist, lawyer, business owner, or what have you. Because I'm in Atlanta, everybody is. There are black-owned businesses and black people at the height of professions everywhere. But very often what happens is when you get a community together, or I'll put it this way, I'm gonna use a metaphor, and you're gonna be like, I get it, but that's interesting that you chose to say it like that. The anime community, right?
Yep.
The anime community has some really cool things about it, but whenever we get together for an anime convention, we always got to worry about whether people put deodorant on or not. Right?
Yeah.
Because even though everyone hates being the only nerd in a room and loves being a part of a community where there are other people that are like them, when other people that are like you show up and all of them are in one place, some of the issues specific to that group start to bubble up and become very apparent and known.
Yes. Yes.
And for the anime community, in a lot of ways, it's like it's
so,
deodorant, right? It's hygiene is one. For the black community, I think black boys have to deal with hypermasculinity a lot. Black boys are socialized to believe certain things and feel certain ways. When I was younger, I was taught that my value as a man was defined by how many women I had access to. And in Weirdo, we see me grapple with this a little bit because I have this crush and my crush doesn't like me back. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Because if crush no like me, I know like me. I only like me because crush like me. I like crush, crush like me. Therefore, I like me. That's the circle. And I had to learn how to think outside of that and how to break that down. Like, cause think about it. I'm going to be a little crass here, but if you're, imagine if you're on Twitter or if you're like in a Twitch stream or if you're like at a basketball game or something and you talking to a bunch of black dudes and you say, or they see somebody that they don't like, or there's someone that they don't like. What's the first thing that they say? He gets no hoes. I bet he gets no hoes. That's like, that's the first thing. That's the insult, man. Right? I don't like you. And since I don't like you, I feel like you don't have any traits that would be desirable in a partner. And because I've been socialized to believe that being wanted by others is the way we justify the wanting of ourselves, the way that I'm going to cut you down is nobody else wants you.
Dang.
If you intellectualize it, it's like, oh, these dots, they're all kind of connected. I kind of get it, right? Yeah. But those were the things that I had to learn how to work through and kind of undo. And it's a part of why in my videos, I'm very open about this stuff and talking about it, because in many ways, this was almost me. You see the videos about like black girls didn't like me because I liked anime. So now I only date Asian girls because my waifu will always love me. Like,
yeah.
If my dad wasn't active in my life, if my parents and like black women that were black girls at the time that were my friends that have now grown into black women that are still my friends, if they didn't pull me to the side and were like, hey, that's not what we're doing.
Yes.
I would have been that guy.
Yeah.
Which is why like I'm always in conflict with these people, because I'm like, I know that you can be better because I almost became you, and a different path was open to me. A different path was open to me. And I believe it's possible for a different path to be open to you if we are able to have a conversation about why this is off or why this is wrong.
Yes. I love that. I think that's beautiful because I feel the same way, like where it's like I could have been much more I could have had more hatred towards the black community, you know, like in African communities and, you know, like all these different groups, you know, like, oh, well, they don't like me because I'm a nerd, but, you know, like, or I'm not black enough, so I guess I'm just going to go to like, you know, other non-black groups, but like have like a sort of enmity towards a black group, you know, because they won't accept me in a way, right? And I think that's beautiful, you know, like, and I mean, I appreciate your videos in so many ways because it's like, I think is addressing that gap spot, you know, that like not a lot of like black nerds, I think, are being spoken to in a way that also isn't patronizing in a way, you know?
One of the things about the internet, for better or for worse, is that dunking on people is like really enticing.
Yes.
You can do a lot by like dunking on a person. And as a result, like for example, I've gone to schools and met fit they're not fifth, like 7th, 8th grade black boys that are like, I don't like black girls because black girls don't like me because I'm nerdy. And I can sit and have a conversation with that 8th grader and go, hey, I need you to chill, right? Like, if anybody's going to have an opinion, it makes sense for a teenager to have a dumb opinion. But now because of the internet, you see a teenager with a dumb opinion, do I help you or do I dunk on you? Because I could dunk on you. Yeah, I dunk on you, and then people come pat me on the back and be like, wow, thanks for dunking on this dude. And then the dude that you dunked on gets pushed into the arms of like Andrew Tate, and Andrew Tate is like, the left hates you because you are a man that won't accept less. And they'll be like, you're right, I won't accept less. And it starts. It's a very dangerous time to like come of age because for whatever reason it's expected for your opinions to be fully thought out, and I don't in any way kind of endorse people causing harm to others, right? Because on the other side of every hey, I don't like black girls because they didn't like me when I watched anime, there's a black girl that likes anime that had to deal with some nonsense. And she's like...
Unfortunately, still is dealing with nonsense, too. Yeah.
And she's like, you don't see me burning the world down because you guys were mean to me. How come he gets to just go banshee when bad things happen to him and it's fine, we gotta coddle him, but I just gotta hold my stuff, huh? It's a very nuanced conversation. So... I try to be as nuanced as possible when I can.
I think that's beautiful, though. You know, it's like, we don't even talk about like how black girls, black women are dealing with this. You know, especially like when it's still an active thing of like them being overly quizzed and overly like you still don't belong with us, even though you showcase that you like this culture or the culture as much as us. You know. And then two, like I think like unfortunately like a lot of like the internet, a lot of these social media pages like they endorse like dunking and like negativity. And then three is like I think that's a beautiful mindset of like if you push them away, they're going someplace else. It's not like they're going away; they're going someplace else that is going to feed into that negativity. Versus like if there's a way that we can like correct. I think that's and like also it's like I love it like for middle school. Like I'm always like middle school sounds like the hardest age.
Indeed.
Sounds like the hardest age. Like I'm always like middle. I like it definitely. I think about like my own middle school era, and it's just like it weird. I guess it's just like this sort of fuzzy time. But like I think about the male teachers I had. I think about like who I could have talked with, and. I think that's really good. Like I wish that we could change like how we talk to, especially like these young boys. Is like if we want to defeat the patriarchy in a way, and then this negative patriarchy, what are we gonna do, right?
I'm very like they're nuanced conversations, and the internet is not always a great place for them. When the opportunity shows up, I'm very open about my beliefs. And kind of where I feel like flaws in specific belief systems are, especially when we talk about masculinity. I'm like, what's masculinity example? Can you define it for me? Like, what is it? Because if I wake up in the morning and I want to put on a pair of hot pink glasses, and I decide to not wear those glasses because of the thoughts of a man that I don't even know, that sounds like the least masculine thing ever. Like, why would I, as a man, let another man tell me what I can and can't wear? Like if it brings me joy and I want to wear it, I feel like the non-masculine thing to do is to let you stop me from doing the thing that I want to do. But I also think that a lot of masculinity is connected to fear that we don't know how to process. Because people say like, a man's supposed to be a protector, and I'm like, a protector from what? Be specific. Because people will show up with muscles. They're like, well, that soy boy, he can't get you protected. And I'm like, if your mom got diagnosed with an illness right now and needed hospital care right now, can you foot that bill, or is she going to need to put a lien on her house quickly? How long can your mom stay in the hospital without falling into financial ruin? Come on, provider. Come on, protector. Quick, real quick. How long? How long? How much do you got? Can you protect from that? Or do you acknowledge that there are things in life that we can't fight with our fist? Because like the scariest things in life. I was doing a video about Weirdo when some dude was like, you don't need therapy. Some problems are only solved with might. And I'm like, I hope, and like, I'm not even being sarcastic. I'm like, I hope you live a life where the only problems you have to fight are ones that you can solve with your fist. I hope you live that life. I would love to live a life where the only conflicts I ever encountered were ones that like a strong left hook could solve.
Yeah.
But life is significantly more complex than that. They're significantly less under our control than we would be willing to admit. And I think that's what a lot of the hypermasculinity that people are clinging to on the internet is. You desperately want control. And you know that you can't have it, so you want to feel like you're in control. Because feeling like you're in control sometimes feels like the real thing. Because if I can trick everybody else into thinking that I'm in control, it gives me a little bit more agency. It gives me a little bit more time. It gives me a little bit more space. And I'm like, that sounds stressful.
Yeah.
I'm good. That sounds stressful. I would much rather not. I mean, like, I'm Christian, right? So even if you look at Christian faith, we say all the time, the battle is not yours, the battle is the Lord's. It's like I ain't here to fight most of the time because this ain't even really me. Like I'm not dealing with it.
Yeah.
I'm about to go pray about it and let the cards fall where they fall, bro. This ain't even me.
Yep.
But it's people are afraid. They're afraid and they adopt belief systems that soothe that fear. They go to people that yell really loud and talk in deep voices and tell them if you buy my course or if you buy my book or if you subscribe to my Substack, I'll make the fears go away. Some of the most hyper masculine people are really just looking for their dads. So it's very interesting.
You gotta sun them sometimes, huh?
It's very interesting to observe.
Man, I also like I'm really sticking to like that has resonated to me, like what you just said. Like I wish I could solve, I wish you can have the problems that can be solved with a good left hook like that.
That's it. If that's all we got to do, oh, that sounds beautiful. Sign me up for that life right
Straight
away.
up, yeah. Because at least that's like a clear way of like, okay, just get stronger then, right?
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, wow, life is so much
go.
more complex than that for sure. And I love that you ask the questions that like hopefully get the gears turning. Like I get like, I gotta change up the way that like we go about these issues and like how we go about doing these things, because
people are really defensive about the term toxic masculinity. They're like masculinity you can't let someone else tell you about masculinity. Masculinity is not toxic. And I'm like, we don't even have to go to toxic masculinity. I just need you. I think that if you remove toxic masculinity from the equation and you have a conversation with someone that just straight up believes that masculinity is like something that the world inherently needs, I'd be inclined to agree with them, but our definitions of masculinity would differ. And there's nothing they can do about that, because the least masculine thing I can do is let another man tell me what I'm supposed to do. Like you can't, like if we get locked into that ideological conversation, it's like, okay, that's fine. I'm masculine too, and my masculinity looks different, and I'm never going to let you sway what I look like or how I show up into the world. That makes no sense.
100%. Wow. I like that. Like because I am constantly wondering like how to change hearts. It's like, it's like, it's not like, I guess 1,000 years ago, like where it's like you had a problem with somebody, you killed them. You're right. You just take over their land or whatever, right? And also that didn't help anything. We were in the dark ages, right? Yeah. At least not us, but the world was in a dark age, right? But these days, it's like it definitely bums me out, like how people like do this as like a war and like it's just ongoing like fighting, like but like not really like understanding like I guess what's the end goal? What are we trying to do? Like how are we trying? Like, are you trying to get people on your side, or are you just trying to like get rid of them, vanquish them in a way, but like you don't understand like what does that mean to cancel somebody, I guess, right? It's like where's the redemption? Where is like the growth? What are we trying to do with all this? But like hearing what you're saying now is like I think this is it, like sort of asking the right questions, right?
In a very broad sense, I am not arrogant enough to believe that I single-handedly can change someone or make someone do anything. However, I know that the change that has happened in me has been a result of consistent challenge. If I have a belief that's incorrect or that's wrong, the people in my life love me enough to challenge that belief, to point out the holes, to point out the inconsistencies and the fallacies. So when I have to go and square those things, when I have to process those fallacies and figure out, okay, when my belief doesn't hold and it falls apart and I have to rebuild what that belief system is, the more that I do that, the closer I get to truth. So what I attempt to do for me is I'm like, I might not be able to change your heart or change your mind. Like, you hate me. Like, there are some people that pop up on my videos. I'm like, I don't even know why you're here. Like, you don't like me. One dude commented one time and he said, can you please block me because I've blocked you but your videos keep showing up and I really don't want to see them. And I was like, honestly, I respect the candor, but you know that since you commented, the algorithm don't bring you back, bro. Like, right. We're kind of stuck with each other at this point. But if I say one thing that makes someone deeply uncomfortable in the moment and they get mad and they flare up, and then a few hours later while they're sitting in bed, they're like, I can't square my belief with this new piece of information. I need to go do some research. Or maybe I didn't know that this thing was happening, but now I know about it. Now I've been informed. Well, now that I've been informed, this shifts things or this changes things. What I consistently try to do is provide information that's clear and that is factually correct so that people can take it and incorporate it into their worldview. And if it reinforces someone's self-esteem, like the video that I did about the influence of a black folktale on Kingdom Hearts, if that video makes you feel a little bit more seen or makes you feel a little bit more valid in your fandom for Kingdom Hearts, cool. If access to that information makes you look at Kingdom Hearts as a game that is influenced by people of all kinds, not just Japanese people, if that moves you like a smidgen closer to recognizing black people as human beings and artists with agency that create culture and influence, sure. It's going to look different for everybody. I think all I got to do is just keep talking. And keep talking. The wheel will turn.
I love that though. I think that's beautiful for sure. These are good positive messages, that like make me feel better as like it's getting out there. Like I am learning, and it's like I was just even thinking is like sometimes like I have some people I follow that are just like about like exposing people and like sort of dunking on them, and like even though like I'm happy they're being dunked on, I'm a little bummed out that I'm like I wasn't even aware that like this group, I guess, or this negative person was doing something negative, But I like how you do it. But yeah, what were you about to say?
I was spending time with a person who's also a content creator, and he said something that kind of shook me because he does like interview content with cosplayers, and he did some interview content with a black cosplayer, and when he posted the video, a lot of racism towards that cosplayer popped up in the comments, and he said, I saw the racism popping up in the comments and I got scared because I was like, Tony's gonna pop up and call me out. And I was like, call out? Who calls out? Me? I call out? Like he said it and I was like, I don't even look at what I do through that lens. I didn't think that that's what I was doing. Yeah. And maybe I overcorrected, right? Maybe I wasn't doing it, but now I'm not doing it even more. For me, it's very rarely about the individual, and it's always about the idea. The actions of an individual may be the inciting incident that makes me discuss an idea, but it's about the idea. It's less about, hey, we hate this person now. Hey, we hate this person now. And more about this event that just took place is indicative of something that I think is a huge problem in our community. And I feel like it's something that we need to talk about.
Yeah, we gotta discuss it. I agree with that. I like that, and I can deal. Like I dig that. Like I. You know, it's like, yeah, like it always bums me out when people are like super focused on like, we got to ruin this person's life in a way, you know, because they did like a bad thing. It's like, is that going to fix the overall issue? You know, it's like, where it's like, yeah, like I like the idea of like discussing like, why is this thing that happened not a good thing, you know, and then like, what can we do, you know, like how can we work on it? You know, like what can we do? What can we understand from this situation? Like maybe even how it came about, and then how can we move forward better together, I guess. And that's something I can really dig about your stuff.
It gets complicated because I never want to put myself in a situation where I'm asking someone who has been harmed to extend a level of empathy to the person that harmed them that they themselves were never given, you know? So what I do is I'm like, I can't control what anybody else does. But for me, as long as I'm able, as long as I have the emotional bandwidth to do so, I will make a wholehearted attempt to move people along. I'm going to try and engage the conversation in good faith. I'm going to try to present something that moves your ideas or your thought process in the right direction, that adds new information. Very rarely do I show up like, all right, so I'm going to set fire to this whole thing. It certainly happened before, but it's rare. When it happens, I'm like, no, this kind of needed to be set on fire. That's a valid option too sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. I agree with that. Man, good stuff, man. Do you have a favorite video you've done, I guess, like in the past 365 days or so, you know, like something that like you think about quite a bit?
I think the videos that I did about Yasuke still really get the gears turning in my head, because like I said, I try to see the good in people, but sometimes you look really hard to find some good, and instead you just find hate, man. And it's so...
Yeah, that whole situation with Assassin's Creed has been really such a bummer.
It's... there's something about... There's something about the idea that the presence of a real-life historical figure somehow ruins your immersion. There are always situations that stick with me where, like, you know, I try to be positive, but some of the times where that positivity gets challenged, or when I enter spaces where my humanity just isn't respected, or where my humanity just isn't acknowledged. There's a joke that I told in a video where I said, when I was younger and I watched Disney Channel and all the girls would have crushes and they'd be like, he's tall, dark, and handsome, I'd be like, me? Oh, really? Me?
Yeah,
and then you find out it's like, no, they're not talking about you.
Yeah.
When they say dark, they're talking about like Ben Affleck. They are
right.
Not,
I was like, what?
They are not talking about you. And it's like, oh, well, I don't get to be the crush, I guess, or like I don't get to be the hero, I guess. When situations present themselves that bring to light exactly how harsh anti-black racism is in nerd spaces, especially because people spend so much time yelling at me at the top of their lungs that it doesn't exist and that it's not real and that I'm making it up. Those always get me thinking. And the Yasuke video was a very strong example of that. The Yasuke video, people came out in droves to try and come up with literally any reason other than the fact that they didn't want to see or play as a black dude in Japan.
Which also is wild. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Like, it's like, why? How does that take your immersion away? What's so wrong, I guess, playing a black guy? That actually was real.
It's a nuance thing, right? You look at Japanese people and how over the course of history through this kind of model minority myth, Japanese people have been used by the proxy through which many Eurocentric people get to live out their xenophobic dreams. It's like, if I say I want a nation of only white people, that's racist. I can't say that. If I say I want to protect white culture, that's racist. I can't say that. But Japan was isolationist. Japan didn't let anybody in. Japan protected their culture. Japan kept the darkies out. And now look at how amazing Japan can be. Look at all their look at their anime, and they're not tainted by Western feminism. And look at their technology. It's so far advanced, and they have trains. Oh my goodness. Japan, Japan, Japan. At a certain point in time, Japan becomes the execution of a white supremacist ideal. So when you drop a black guy in there, it's like, hey, no,
Don't
you
you
ruined
dare.
it. And I knew that to be true. I knew that was the case, but I don't know. I try to think better of people, man. I try to think that maybe it doesn't have to be that way, but seeing it happen in real time and seeing it happen so immediately, so immediately and so quickly, it's difficult for me to wrap my brain around the fact that I like Naruto because he's Naruto, and there are other people that like Naruto because don't nobody in Konoha look like me. Where for them, like, a benefit of this is that I like Japanese manga because I don't have to see anybody that doesn't look like blank. And you combine that with, like, Mukoseki and this idea that anime characters don't look phenotypically Japanese a lot of the time anyway. So you get to take the export of Japanese culture and kind of insert yourself and assert ownership over this thing in order to advance, like, your worldview and your kind of monocultural ideal. It's so interesting to me from an anthropological perspective, but it gets annoying when I got to deal with it all the time.
You're right. Actually, deal with it, and like literally them saying things to you that make you realize that, because like it's like it. Even though like I'm sort of aware of that, it's like I'm happy, at least grateful that like that hasn't been said to me. Like even though like my job is, social media, on behalf of an anime company. And I do witness like a lot of the racism, like especially like when we put black people on, we have to really over monitor these things, like, which is sad. I wish it wasn't like that. And would you say like it's getting better or worse?
I think it's getting more specialized, meaning that if I want to find positive community, it's easier for me to find. If I want to find a negative community, it's easier for me to find. There's, in my opinion, an ideal state is one in which we bring the community together and everybody learns how to appreciate one another. And when I say learn to appreciate one another, I don't mean expecting a black person to go hug a racist person and go, it's okay, he just like that sometimes. But I mean us being able to actually form community and find common ground and remove some of those biases and connect with one another. But instead what's happening is, if you want that multiculturalism, you have a place to go. But if you don't want that multiculturalism, you got a place to go. But both groups are consuming the same pieces of media content. They're consuming the same things. So the content becomes these kind of these battlegrounds for culture wars about whose opinion matters and whose opinion doesn't. You look at, like I made a video about the change to a character's design in One Punch Man. And there were people saying, oh, that did look really similar to blackface. It's cool that they should.
I was shocked you had to make like another video explaining.
Yeah.
So like, what? I was like, people like are having an issue about this, like.
And there were other people that were like, no, they shouldn't change it. They shouldn't change it. They shouldn't incorporate these things. And it's the content is kind of where the clash happens. You look at what happened with the fan art thing for Dandadan. You look at One Piece when the live action Usopp got casted. The communities are separate, but they consume the same thing, and sometimes by virtue of that consumption, we end up in the same room, and that is when bows start getting thrown.
Although it is also still always wild to me, especially with One Piece overall. Like I'll always be like, "Are you watching the same show I'm watching?" Because aren't they like super against xenophobia overall? You know, and like Oda himself is involved in this, the one that like we all revere, and you're saying that his opinion isn't valid, or like, or isn't the one that like we should be respecting, especially like when he's about the multiculturalism. Like it feels like the virtue of the media itself is going for this, and you're sort of ignoring that aspect for whatever weird reason.
It's what's the word? It's a very interesting paradox.
Yes.
It's a super interesting paradox. And I always feel conflicted because it's like, there are people that are racist that like Japanese content, and our rebuttal is kind of like, well, this author actually really supports diversity, and they support multiculturalism, and I'm like, that's cool today. Because if I dig long enough, not even long enough, I don't feel like I got to go that far to find a Japanese person that's xenophobic and would be like, get those darkies out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, there are people in the West that are on both sides. There are people in Japan that are on both sides.
Yeah.
And it's a variance,
Yeah. Would you? Because also I think about like your particular experience in Japan, right?
Yeah.
And I think about that a lot. Like it's like, dang, like before I wouldn't have said like, oh, like it's as negative there, but then you lived it, and I guess you got to see like how it can be out there.
There's so many interesting things that happen there that I don't even like. There are levels to everything. Like there's a story that I haven't made a video about because I feel like there's no way to make the video and not get someone upset with me. Like there's no net positive that comes out from this. About a student that I went to school with who was a young lady that shared that she was being catcalled when she would like walk home. And one day she just had a really bad day, and it was one of those like, I really don't want to deal with this today. And she asked me to walk her home so that she like wouldn't get catcalled. And I was like, oh yeah, that's fine. That's sure. Like you walk a lady to her car when leaving work and things like that. I want to make sure she's safe. And then in my brain, I was like, of all the people that she could have asked, she asked me, but she asked me for like a very specific reason. And that intrigues me. There's something about that where it's like, yeah, it was a little racism.
She wasn't black.
Racism, but it's also like she wasn't trying to be like, she was just trying to not have to deal with people catcalling,
Mm-hmm. And it's just sort of like, and like I guess like she never like made clear or like explicit the reason like she might have asked you for this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's I mean, I think about that quite a bit myself. I guess like being a black guy, like my perks, I guess, and my I guess anti-perks, I don't even know, like, like what will I suffer because I'm black, but then also like what will I not suffer, I guess, man, that's difficult overall,
Yeah, it's interesting to navigate. Like it's
life
like,
is nuanced,
but that to
right?
me, I'm like, that's where the conversations happen. The internet just isn't a place to have that conversation though. Because if I put that video out,
they'll just get stuck on the first point.
Yeah, if I put that video out, it would be like, I'm racist for thinking that the Japanese girl is so frail and fragile that she needed my protection. She's racist for going to the black dude amongst all the other dudes that she could have talked to in order to walk her home in the first place so that she wouldn't get bothered. Like there are so many intersections of nonsense that it's like, I don't even know how we begin to have that conversation. It's a conversation that I genuinely want to have. I'm very curious about it from an anthropological perspective, from a cultural perspective, because in some ways, like we were having our conversation about masculinity. What is masculinity? To protect, right? And she felt like she needed protection. She just didn't want to get catcalled, which is a huge issue in Japan. It's stuff like that where I'm like, these are the conversations that I want to have, but the internet just isn't a.
I guess especially like the larger it goes, right?
Yeah.
Like the bigger or like the more potential for people to see it, like the less sincere people can be, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Dang. Although that's a good point, honestly. Like sort of sad. Do you think it can ever get better? Or I was like, I hope it'll get better. But yeah, I guess like you, like what do you think? Do you think it could get better, it will get better? Like there will be like a room for people to have these discussions, or does it have to be off the internet to do that?
I think it's always going to be offline. I think getting offline and having conversations with the people in front of you is always going to be a good thing. I think that's where a lot of focal points are. I made so many close friends that I'm still in touch with while I lived in Japan. A story that I haven't told, I went to downtown Osaka, like where the Glico Man is, Dotonbori. Like where all that stuff's happening. Right. Mm-hmm. And on a bridge, there were these 3 Japanese guys, probably early 20s, standing around a boombox, like not a speaker, boombox. Boombox is playing like lo-fi beats, and they're freestyle rapping over the lo-fi beats in the boombox in downtown Osaka. And I walk up, and they look at me like they've seen a celebrity. Like they're rapping, but they're kind of nervous. And there's this intriguing cultural exchange going on of like, ugh, I can't choke in front of the black guy.
Yeah.
When's the next time we're gonna get this opportunity? And I'm showing up like in my anime merchandise, right? So there's this weird cultural thing. That's
like,
happening.
They're doing the black thing, you're doing the Asian thing, right?
And just like getting to have a conversation with those dudes, and like what music inspired them, and like they're like, nah, man, we work real jobs. Like we don't want to be rappers. We just really like rapping. There's something that's like fun about it that we enjoy. It's stuff like that where I'm like, those are the conversations I want to have. You get on the internet, it's the same thing. It's like it's woke this, woke that, DEI, 50-50 split bills, Dr. Umar meme. Like it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of this stuff, like it feels divorced from what's actually going on in the real world. It feels like a distraction sometimes. It feels like I just got to keep you talking and keep you angry and keep you engaged so that you comment on the video, so that you come back the next day.
Yep.
It's like you're not actually trying to do anything. You just want to keep your audience engaged.
Yep, definitely. Like I feel, especially like every time I go onto Threads, I feel like I'm always being served the same arguments. Like, oh my God, dating is like this, and it's just like, are we ever gonna evolve past that? I guess.
Right.
But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. People just got to go outside and touch grass, talk to people for real, right?
You got to talk to folks. You got to engage with folks. I think that if you put 2 people together and you let them have conversations and talk, if 2 people are able to address one another through like a mutually accepted lens of humanity, I think we're always going to move forward. We might move backwards sometimes, but I think that at its core is always going to move us forward. And in our videos, that's what I try to do. I try to present information. There are people that say racism isn't a thing. We had a black president. People are complaining, and they're just complainers because they don't know how to work. And I got to show up and I go, okay, I hear it. I disagree, but I'm not going to like dunk on you. But what I need you to understand, perfect example, when a significant amount of people in the United States gained their wealth through land and homes that they were able to purchase via the GI Bill after they served.
Yeah.
Black military veterans were not given those benefits. Yeah. So there was a wealth disparity that was codified. It was created.
Yeah. People
that did receive those benefits grew old in those places. They sold those places. They used that land for other things. It became the foundation of generational wealth.
Yep.
Meanwhile, via redlining, black people are forced to live in specific neighborhoods where schools are underfunded and resources are withheld, and that does something, that creates something, and people don't know that happened. People don't know that that's something that took place. So I always try to approach it with like a very clear historical context.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's sad. Like too much of his history, like that, just wasn't even 100 years ago, is already being forgotten. You know, like people love to blame the individual versus like the system, and like they're like, I wish people would be more genuine in hearing out other people's concerns and like where they're coming from and what's going on versus like, no, they like, I don't see it or whatever. You know, like I feel like people are being disingenuine, especially online.
And you got to learn how to accept when you're wrong too. Yeah. I made a video about Robert Johnson, who was the subject of the folktale that inspired the Crossroads in Kingdom Hearts.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And in the Kingdom Hearts series director's interview, he said the story goes that the devil went to the crossroads. And I heard that, and my brain conflated that with The Devil Went Down to Georgia, which is a song about a similar but different thing. And I brought that up in the video. I said, Devil Went Down to Georgia. And someone commented, and they said it wasn't Georgia, it was Mississippi. I'm blood related to this dude's family. I'm one of his descendants. We have like a whole museum and think about him in Mississippi. He was never in Georgia. It was Mississippi. And I'm like, I got it wrong. And I immediately responded and was like, sorry, I conflated the two things. I pinned the comment so people could see it. And it's like, okay, worldview adjusted. I had some information that I thought was one thing, and I was incorrect about it. And now that I have this new information, I can look at the thing that I actually want to look at with more context and with newer eyes. For me, a part of the reason I talk so loud is because I'm like, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. I need to know right away, because every moment that I spend being wrong is a moment that I'm not spending being right. I need to know all the ways that I'm wrong real quick so that I can be right. Because at the end of the day, that's what I'm trying to do. I want to be right.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's a sign of maturity for sure. You know, like and it just sort of shows like how so many people are so immature to like be so stubborn about like it being incorrect or whatever. You know, like it's sort of like a flaw of their own morality or who they are, I guess, versus like, no, like we can just, you know, grow together. Why not? Right. I hope that we can get there together. Although I once again, I thank you for what you do. You know, it's like you have shed light on so many things, like I guess in society, you know, that need shedding light on, you know, especially like when it comes to black people, black nerds, kids, you know, like this is important. And I'm glad that you're doing this work. And, you know, I just really want to keep cheering you on. And I'm glad we got to talk about this because this is like, it's beautiful, you know, like there's not a lot of people like who I see doing these things, you know, talking to the kids, you know, and I hope that you know, if I can support you in whatever way, please, like I got to.
Well, I mean, you're a great friend, and I think that's plenty of support. Like I love talking about this stuff. Representation is a huge passion of mine. The way that representation in media shapes culture and the way we treat each other and view things, it's just deeply interesting to me. It's a fun place for me to kind of plant my flag.
Means a lot, man. And yeah, dude, please, like it's important. Like I hope you keep doing this. I hope like the negativity doesn't get you down. Like you know, it's like I hope that you also see like a lot of the love that is out there for you. You know, this as we talked about Kid Cudi getting his flowers. Like I hope that you also know that you are doing important work that, you know, is very valued.
I'm grateful. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. And honestly, thank you so much for your time. I know busy time, like, but I'm really happy that we got to have this talk. I'm gonna have to bring you on again later on, and hopefully just more chill talk. You know, maybe Magic. I gotta talk to you about these trading cards. You know, like if people are trying to get me to One Piece.
I love a good trading card game. It's a good time.
I'm doing my best to stay away, honestly, because I'm like I already have so many other things like I want to do overall.
Pokemon TCG Live, it's free. It's an app.
I'm seeing, you know, you're like the sixth person to tell me to download it. I'm like, no. What about the one?
Yeah,
and like,
exactly. I was trying to get you to play One Piece, and then I burned out on One Piece.
oh man, you burned out on it.
Yeah, I dropped like
Oh.
$200 on a deck, and I played it for a bit, and I was like, the gameplay loop on this game is not suited to my strengths. But Pokemon is. I play
okay.
on TCG Live. I played 500 games of Pokemon since November. It's like, oh, you're running late for the
I'm about to say,
meeting.
like, how long has this game been out?
You're running late for the meeting. Oh, that's fine. I'll just play a game real quick.
You know, just one more game, right?
It's like, we're in the car driving to the grocery store. It's fine. Let's play a game.
Yeah.
Waiting on the plane at the airport. It's fine. Let's play Pokemon.
Yeah, you know, like I think that's my fear. Like I'm like already in Pokemon Go. I'm already like people. I feel like in fact, actually, I have a friend of mine in Australia who sent me like a training deck and then like a pre-built set deck. One of my coworkers sent me a deck. Everyone's trying to get me into simulation. I'm just like, all right, yeah, I'll do this. So but I'm scared if I talk to you more about Magic or trading Pokemon trading card game.
Listen, Pokemon
I'm hooked.
TCG Live is free. It's free. You good? It's free.
We'll see. Brother, it was a pleasure talking to you. I definitely got to get you on again, especially like once you get some more time and once you get more vacation time for sure. Like once you do the work you got to do, get vacation, I'm going to hit you back up again. Maybe then I'll get the game.
Well, I'm grateful for your time. I'll talk to you later.
I'll talk to you later. Appreciate you, bro.
All right. Peace.